Hello, friends, and welcome to Sleep Tight Stories. Libby has a lot of homework, and her teachers seem really strict about it. Mom is calling Libby for dinner, but she doesn't get an answer. She goes up to Libby's room and finds Libby on the floor, among a pile of papers and books. When it is time for Libby to get her homework into her bag and head to breakfast, there is something missing. Will she be able to find it? Margherita and the Mystery of the Missing Homework. "Libby, dinner's ready," her mother called from the kitchen. There was no answer. After waiting a few minutes, Libby's mother walked from the kitchen to Libby's bedroom, where she found her daughter sitting among a pile of papers and books, headphones on, lost in her music. "Libby," she called again, but Libby still couldn't hear her. Sighing, her mother stepped carefully into the room, trying not to crush any scattered papers, and gently tapped Libby on the shoulder. Libby jumped, pulling off her headphones. The faint hum of music filled the air. "What, Mom?" she said, startled to see her mother standing behind her. "Is dinner ready? I'm kind of hungry." "That's what I've been calling you about. Dinner is ready. I wish you wouldn't wear your headphones all the time, or at least turn your music down. You're going to hurt your ears." "Music helps me focus, Mom," Libby said, standing up and following her mother out of the room. As she stepped into the hallway, the scent of melted cheese and warm dough hit her. "What's for dinner? It smells delicious. Is it fried chicken?" "Fried chicken? Where did that come from?" her mother asked, raising an eyebrow. "I thought since Margherita loves pizza so much, I'd make some homemade pizza. It's expensive always buying from the pizza place, and you know how fussy she is about frozen pizza." As they walked into the kitchen, the smell grew stronger. A delicious blend of bubbling cheese, tangy tomato sauce, and the hint of garlic from the freshly baked crust. Margherita was already waiting by the kitchen table, her green eyes wide and alert. She paced in tight circles, meowing and swiping at the air, clearly impatient for dinner. "I think she smelled the pizza before I did," Libby chuckled, watching Margherita's tail twitch back and forth. "Just wait a bit, Margherita, and we'll get you your dinner." The kitchen was warm and cozy, the glow of the oven light still visible as Libby's mom pulled the pizza from the oven. The crust crackled slightly as the air filled with the aroma of a freshly made pizza, and Margherita let out another impatient meow, circling closer to Libby's legs. "That looks delicious, Mom. It looks almost like the ones from the pizza shop," Libby joked. "Almost?" Libby's mother replied. "Why don't you grab us some plates? The Caesar salad is in the fridge." Libby was hungry, and she ate her pizza and salad almost as fast as her orange cat. "Don't forget to chew your food," her mother laughed. "Did you finish all your homework for tomorrow?" "Yeah, that's what I was doing when you came into my room. I had a bunch of worksheets and stuff to finish. The math teacher is really strict, and very old school. If you don't hand in your homework, everyone knows about it. And you don't want to be in the spotlight like that, right? Exactly. Can I have another slice or two? Sure. Just leave some for Margherita in case she doesn't eat the cat food I prepared for her. After cleaning up, as her mother fetched Margherita's special bowl, Libby asked, "Are you going to try that again? She's been with us forever, and she's never eaten anything but pizza." "I think it's just a fun game for us. She spends most of her time with you, and this is how we play. You should try playing with her using all those cat toys. It might be more fun." Like every day, Libby's mom first tried giving the orange cat a drink of milk, but Margherita wouldn't touch it. Then her mother brought over a delicious bowl of salmon, and again, Margherita refused to eat it. Next, she offered a small bowl of dry cat food, but Margherita just stared at it. "You're one unusual cat," Libby's mother said, finally grabbing a slice of homemade pizza and placing it in Margherita's bowl. Libby and her mom watched as Margherita devoured the pizza, licked her mouth, had a noisy drink of water, and then padded over to the couch, where she lay down to rest her full tummy. "Told you," Libby said with a grin. After dinner, Libby got ready for bed. She loved to listen to music and read books as long as possible, and Margherita always joined her. As Libby reached for her book, she noticed a crumpled worksheet under the edge of her bed, right where Margherita had been playing earlier. She chuckled as she picked it up and smoothed it out, thinking about how much trouble her pizza-loving cat might have caused if she hadn't have spotted it. Taking a break from reading, Libby quietly said, "Tomorrow's a big day because I have to hand in so much homework. And the teachers, not just the math teacher, are all so strict. What if I've forgotten something?" Margherita looked up at her and meowed softly, as if offering reassurance. "You always listen to everything I say, and it's like you understand me too. You're one crazy cat. I'm so lucky you found me that day when I was walking by. I don't know how I would have survived this move and this new school without you. Even though I've made some friends, you're definitely the best." Libby's orange cat meowed again, then let out a great big yawn and stretched lazily. "It's late, isn't it?" Libby whispered. "I better get to sleep or I'll be yawning in class. Or worse." She snuggled under her covers, turned off the light, and whispered, "Good night, Margherita." The next morning, Libby's mother called from outside her bedroom door. "Time to get up, Libby. You don't want to be late for school." "I'm awake, Mom. I'll be out for breakfast in a minute," Libby said groggily. She wasn't really a morning person. After she finished getting ready, she returned to her room to pack her backpack for school. As she gathered her homework papers, she suddenly noticed something was missing. Her math homework, the most important one, was nowhere to be found. Panic shot through her. She rifled through the papers on her desk, then checked her backpack again, just in case. "Where is it?" she muttered to herself, flipping through her notebook. "I know I finished it." Libby scanned the room, her eyes darting to where Margherita had been playing the night before. She frowned. something wasn't right. A trail of crumbs, tiny pizza crust crumbs, led from her desk to the other side of the room. Libby crouched down for a closer look. "Margherita," she whispered suspiciously. Following the crumb trail like a detective on a case, Libby made her way across the room. There was a paw print on one of her scattered books, and next to it, a tiny torn edge of paper. She bent down to inspect it. "Is that my homework?" She glanced at Margherita, who was lounging on the windowsill, grooming herself with absolutely no guilt. Libby stood up and surveyed the room again. Her eyes followed the trail of clues, the crumbs, the paw prints, and now a small paper scrap tucked near her bookshelf. "Okay, where did you put it?" She crawled under her bed, pushing aside some old sneakers and a forgotten stuffed animal, but no math homework. Just as she was about to give up, she noticed something sticking out from behind the laundry basket. She hurried over and pulled it out. It was crumpled, with a faint paw print stamped right in the middle of it. "Margherita!" Libby groaned, smoothing out the sheet. "You almost got me in trouble." Margherita, now perched on the windowsill, stretched lazily and let out a great big yawn, clearly unbothered by the chaos she had caused. "Margherita, you really need to stop hiding my homework," she muttered under her breath. With her backpack packed and ready, she rushed to the kitchen, where her mother was finishing breakfast. "You seem to be in a hurry this morning," her mom said, setting down a plate of scrambled eggs and toast. "Yeah, I almost couldn't find my math homework," Libby replied, her voice a little tense. "Margherita decided it was a good idea to play with it last night." Her mom laughed softly. "I'm sure she just thought she was helping you practice math. Cats are great at problem solving, you know." Libby rolled her eyes but smiled. "Right, solving the problem of how to make my life more chaotic." After quickly eating her breakfast, Libby grabbed her backpack and dashed out the door. The walk to school felt shorter today, but her stomach tightened as she thought about handing in her homework. Inside the classroom, everyone was bustling around. Some kids were chatting about their weekends, while others were frantically finishing up assignments. Libby found her seat and pulled out her worksheets, making sure the crumpled math paper was as flat as possible. Just as she placed it on top of the stack, Mrs. Turner, the strict math teacher, entered the room. "All right, class, homework please. Let's have everything on my desk neat and complete." Libby held her breath as she walked to the teacher's desk. She placed the stack of papers down, her crumpled math homework sticking out awkwardly from the neat pile of her classmates' assignments. Mrs. Turner glanced down at it, raising an eyebrow. "Libby, what happened here?" she asked, holding up the wrinkled math sheet. Libby's face flushed. "My cat, Margherita, she kind of, played with it last night." Mrs. Turner's serious face softened, just slightly. "I see. Well, cats have a way of getting into everything, don't they? Make sure Margherita doesn't help with your homework next time." She gave Libby a small smile before setting the sheet aside. Relieved, Libby returned to her seat. Her classmates were none the wiser about the close call, and she let out a quiet sigh. Later that afternoon, when Libby got home, Margherita was waiting for her at the door as usual. "You almost got me in trouble today, you know that," Libby said, bending down to pet her orange cat. Margherita purred and rubbed against her leg, completely unfazed by the day's events. Libby chuckled, then paused, glancing around the room at the scattered papers and books. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "maybe it wasn't all your fault. If I didn't leave my homework all over the floor, you probably wouldn't have gotten into it." Margherita blinked up at her with those big green eyes, as if agreeing. "Let's make a deal, okay?" Libby said with a smile. "You can play with whatever you want, except my homework. And I'll do my part too, by keeping my room a little neater." Margherita gave a soft meow, blinking again, as if considering the offer. Then, with a stretch and a flick of her tail, she padded away, leaving Libby to wonder if her cat would actually stick to the deal. But Libby had learned her lesson. She glanced at her scattered things one more time and decided it was time to tidy up. After all, keeping her papers in order wasn't just about avoiding trouble. It was about being ready for anything, whether that meant homework or pizza-loving cats. And that is the end of our story. Good night. Sleep tight.